Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this LinkedIn Live. It's the first one of the year. So, first of all, my warmest wishes for a 2022 full of joy, excitement, health, and success. Now, I know that you're joining us from different parts of the world, and because the topic of sustainability in logistics is so probably a topic which is relevant for the whole planet. Now, how about giving us a quick sign on where you are located, and then we'll get to know the guest of today, which is Pietro D'Arpa, Vice President at Procter& Gamble. But first, let's get to know a bit more our audience. So, how about if you send us a quick message, you have a chat box which is on the right side of your screen. How about telling us from which country you're connecting so that we get to see a bit more about our audience? There is always a bit of a delay between the people getting the link, connecting, and being able to write it down. So let's see for a moment when we have the information coming. Okay, here we are. Okay, so we have Ifigenia from Obon, and then we have Rudy from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Fantastic. Then we have somebody from Switzerland, UK, Italy, and Netherlands, Italy, Switzerland, Germany. Okay, fantastic. Poland, UK, Slovenia. Amazing. So that's very good to have such a variety of people that have chosen to join us today for this workshop. So let's try to understand who is our guest today. And Pietro, why don't
Oh,
you tell us a few words about yourself?
sure. Giuseppe, first of all, thank you very much to invite me to this event, to give me the opportunity to talk about sustainability in logistics. I want to also thank you, the audience. I recognize some of the people that have appeared on the screen, so thank you for joining today. I work for Procter. I've been working for Procter & Gamble for more than 30 years. I spent all my career working in supply chain in many functions. I work in manufacturing, in logistics, in planning. I worked also on quality. I spent some time in engineering. And I've been working between Europe, many countries in Europe, and the United States. In my previous assignment, I spent a few years in US as responsible of what we call corporate manufacturing. But since 2016, so I moved back to Geneva, where I am located now, working as responsible of the logistics operation for Procter & Gamble Europe. And in this function, I am responsible of the NetZero strategy for logistics, which is our sustainability for logistics program. And I am very proud today to spend a few minutes with you and your audience, Giuseppe, to talk about that.
Fantastic. And just for the small story, Pietro and I met 30 years ago. He was the boss of my boss when I started my corporate career. So that's a pleasure that, after 30 years, we continue to be in touch, not only, but build a friendship that has strengthened over time. So real pleasure. And of course, Procter & Gamble was the company where I started my corporate career. I became a professor only later in my life, and I read some recent announcement from Procter and Gamble regarding action and objectives against climate change. Quite challenging, really. A strong commitment from P&G in that respect. I mean, what does the concept of sustainability in logistics mean for Procter and Gamble in connection with these announcements?
Yeah, Giuseppe, this is, let me answer this way. First of all, for sustainability for Procter & Gamble is an imperative. So the company has decided now since few years to really invest resource and focus of the organization to create a more sustainable planet. This is not only a business concern, is something that we have to do for our family, for our children, for ourselves, to build a planet which we can leave to the future generation as it is today, even better. So, and I want to say something before we talk about technical details and numbers and other things, that I'm really excited and proud to work for a company like Procter & Gamble that puts sustainability so high in his list of priorities. This is when, you know, Giuseppe, your personal aspiration, your personal purpose coincide with the business purpose. And that's the reason why I'm so excited and I accepted your invitation to talk to you today immediately. But let me go back to your question. So in a few months ago, the company has announced what we call this ambition to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2040. And this is something that regards the entire supply chain, end-to-end, manufacturing, warehousing, transportation, all the functions across the supply chain. And the company is working very hard, has put resources, as I said before, both in terms of people and money to achieve this objective. In this scope, of course, there is logistics. And when we talk about logistics sustainability, we are talking about transportation sustainability. Give me a moment. I give you a little context. The official data that are issued by the European Union estimate that the percentage of greenhouse gas emission coming from the commercial transportation is about 9-10% of the total emission of greenhouse gas that we produce in Europe, everything included.
Wow.
10%. It's significant.
That's big. That's, yeah.
So if we want to create a decarbonized continent, which is the aspiration of the new Green Deal, as has been discussed by the European Union in the last couple of years, definitely we need to tackle the transportation, the commercial transportation greenhouse gas emission. So this is the context. In this context, what we have said in logistics is that we want to create an intermediate goal. Okay, we have a 2040 goal, net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2040. But frankly speaking, this is 20 years from now. We need to create a sense of urgency. And we have created an intermediate goal, which is to reduce by 50% the emission intensity by 2030. We have also other short-term goals, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. But those are the two key numbers that I would like the audience to remember. Net zero by 2040 and 50% reduction by 2030.
Thank you, Pietro. Let's get concrete maybe also for our audience. I mean, what are some current or future examples of a Procter & Gamble action in the field of sustainability, then applied to logistics?
Yes, sir. So I like to summarize the work we are doing in 3 buckets, in 3 pillars, if you like. One, which, Giuseppe, you're very familiar with, which I would like to call operational excellence. One which talks about converting to alternative fuel. And third, which is the culture. Let me talk about the third one first, the culture. So the work we are doing in Europe, in my team, in our team, is really to be sure that every single individual understand the importance and the impact it can have on sustainability and on transportation sustainability. So that's the reason why we have created, Giuseppe, you get only what you reward. We have changed our reward and recognition accordingly. A small example, Since last year, we have created this Transportation Sustainability Award. In the month of September, there is a day where we award the best sustainability project on transportation that has been created, invented, and implemented by some of our member of our team or sub teams in our organization. The success is spectacular. You cannot imagine the amount of energy and creativity that this has unleashed. We have got more than 100 projects, which is a lot. Deciding the winner has been very difficult. But there are small things like that that are creating the culture of sustainability in logistics that we want. Let me spend a few minutes on the other two pillars. The first one is operational excellence. There is a lot that we can do in terms of reducing the greenhouse gas emission, improving the efficiency of our operation. And I give you an example. I'm sure that many of the audience are familiar with the concept of empty miles. What are empty miles, Giuseppe? When a truck moves product from A to B, it's full, move from A to B. Sometimes there is no load to move back, and to go to the point of origin has to drive empty. We call those empty miles. Of course, this is a loss from the financial point of view and from the sustainability point of view. I'll give you an idea. The official data in Europe say that on average, about 20% of the total miles are empty. Do you know what this would mean? That on average, 1 every 5 trucks that you see in our highway is empty.
It's empty, yeah. And I understand that this number is much bigger from the UK to Europe, right? For after Brexit, right?
After Brexit has created some issues. One of those issues is a little bit of this integration between the continent and UK when it comes to transport efficiency. As a result, the amount of empty miles cross-border is on the region of 35, 40, in some months even 44%, which is a lot. So this is an area that we are taking, reducing empty miles. I can give you some example later on, but let me put the second intervention is on what we call intermodality. We call intermodality every time we use more than one mean of transportation to move product. For example, if we use truck and train, or train and boat, or truck, train and boat, any of this combination is called intermodality. Why intermodality is important? Another piece of information which is very incredible. The first time I saw it, I couldn't believe. Do you know, Giuseppe, that the greenhouse gas emission of a truck is 4 times higher than a train? 4 times. So if you move 1 ton of product for 1 kilometer, you produce 4 times the amount of CO2 going by truck than going by train. But if you use airplane, this ratio is 28. So
Yeah.
there is, of course, a need to move from airplane to road, but most important, from road to train. We call this movement intermodality. Today in Europe, Procter & Gamble use intermodality for about 23-25% of its product. We want to increase dramatically the amount of product that we move by train. This is the second big area of intervention that we are doing. The third area that I want to mention is in the area of converting to alternative fuel. And everybody is familiar with biofuel or biodiesel. We want to replace diesel with biodiesel and biofuel. This is something which is very interesting because there is a possibility to reduce dramatically the net CO2 emission. And on top of this, of course, we are working on the electric truck, electrification of our truck, our trucks. This is important because this is basically the solution moving to electric that can solve basically all the issue, almost all the issue that we have, and can reduce the CO2 emission almost to zero. I will stop here. Operational excellence, converting to alternative fuel, and culture.
Perfect. Thank you. Very clear, very well structured. I appreciate it, Pietro. Because I mean, I appreciate it because you're giving a speech that applies to people from different functions, right? You know, I see in the audience people that are working in sales, people that are working in marketing, people that may not be into the specifics of supply chain and operation. So I'm really glad that your message comes across very clearly. By the way, there are already some questions, but let me first, you know, build a bit. You know, you talked about biofueling, you talk about electric trucks. I mean, to what extent, you know, technological innovation can support sustainability to logistics?
Yeah, Giuseppe, this is the new frontier. So as I said, there is a lot of improvement that we can do working on operational excellence. And operational excellence is not, we don't need to introduce new news, new technology. It's just doing better what we already do today. But this will not bring us to zero, to net zero. To bring us to net zero, we need to leverage innovation. This is a critical point. And I want to make a comment which is important for you and the audience to know. Procter & Gamble is heavily investing in innovation. When I say heavily investing, we are putting resources in our company, but we are also partnering with external entities. We are partnering with startups in Switzerland and abroad. We are partnering with academia, with the best university, which are experts in this field. We are partnering with other companies. We are partnering with the transportation companies. It's important that we win this challenge, which is the challenge of logistics sustainability working together. And I'll come back to this later on because I want to give you a specific example. But talking about innovation, for example, we are working with a startup in Switzerland and in US to develop what we call CO2 capture or carbon capture. Those are devices that we can install on the back of our trucks and absorb the CO2 that are produced, avoiding that the CO2 goes into the air. The CO2 is absorbed, compressed into a buffer that we create in the truck itself. And this CO2 can be reused because there are some manufacturing process, like the cement industry, that use CO2 in their process. So there is a cycle that we can introduce, a virtual cycle, where the CO2 is captured and reused, reducing the on-air emission. This is a technology that we are developing together with those companies. I hope that 2022 will see the first application, the first implementation. Another one, Giuseppe. We are working on. I told you the problem of the empty miles, right?
Yeah.
Empty miles is empty miles. One way is to develop containers which are foldable. So containers that once are empty, they can fold on themselves. So we can put 4 containers up to 1 others, and they can go back in this way to the point of origin. This will reduce by 75% the CO2 emission because you can put 4 empty folders in the space of 1. Of course, this one that doesn't solve all the issues. It's applicable in certain situations, but this is something. And we are working with a startup which is called Fourfold. Fourfold is the name of the company, and we are testing now in between Europe and South Africa in this moment. Giuseppe, I can go on and on.
No, I think it's amazing. That's interesting. It's very concrete. It's very practical. Now I'm gonna, since there are so many questions already lined up, I'm gonna move to the question in a moment. I just want to say one thing to our audience. if you are interested, to continue this learning journey to discover new things, then our next LinkedIn Live will be on the 25th of January at 1 o'clock, and it's about getting the top jobs. Getting the top jobs, we're going to have the director of career coaching at the Sdabocconi in Milan, so one of the leading business schools in Europe. So if you're interested to progress your career, if you want to get to one of the C-level job, then join us on the 25th of January, 1 o'clock Central European time as usual, for the next LinkedIn Live. Let me tell you also about the next negotiation webinar, which will take place on the 4th of February at 2 o'clock, and is about virtual negotiation toolbox. Virtual negotiation toolbox on the 4th of February. Okay, now, sorry, with that in mind, let's take the question. I think you have already addressed the question from Regina, but let's quickly cover what Regina told us. Regina says, over the last 20 years, the meaning in company about sustainability changed. What was previous utopia is now reality. What is your vision that P&G should be in 2030? You already mentioned about, the official goal. I mean, is there something else that you want to add in that respect?
No, I think I want to just focus on one comment that Regina is making. What was previous utopia is now reality. This is so true. Not even 5 years ago, many of the things that we are talking now were completely considered completely impossible. Now we have a plan, we have a goal, we have a strategy, and we have an action plan. And this is also driven by the technological improvement that we have seen in the last 2 years in this area. I said we have a goal of net zero by 2040. In transportation in Europe, we have an intermediate goal to reduce by 50% by 2030. But I don't exclude that, Giuseppe. If you call me next year, maybe in 2 years, for something similar, this target will move, because there are so many changes that are occurring that maybe we can further accelerate.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's move to Evas. Evas is, do you consider the hydrogen trucks?
Yeah. So this is one of the many technology that we are considering. The hydrogen trucks is a technology that is a little bit less advanced versus electric trucks or the diesel or biofuel, and has got some implication in terms of safety that need to be taken into consideration. But yes, we are in contact with companies that are developing new hydrogen trucks, and if and when the technology will be ready to be used, we will use it. I want to expand a moment, Evas, and give you a little bit of more perspective on this. What we consider, what we have in mind in Procter & Gamble is that for every time you need to move product between 0 and 400 kilometers, the solution is electric trucks. It's handy, it's easy, it's convenient. Between 400 kilometers and 600 kilometers, you need to use biodiesel, or when the technology will be ready, hydrogen trucks. So in other words, the hydrogen trucks has got a place in the future of transportation for mid-length type of transportation. For transportation which are above 600 kilometers, we should use only train and boat.
Fantastic. Perfect. Let's take another question from Danielle. As a forward-thinking organization, are you partnering with the First Movers Coalition?
Yeah, we are in connection with the First Mover Coalition. There are people, not personally, but in my team, there is somebody in Brussels that is that Giuseppe knows very well, that is in connection with the First Mover Coalition. Yes, the answer is yes.
Perfect. Let's move to Rudy. And Rudy says, did the P&G quantify the impact of automation? For instance, the AGVs.
Yeah, so it is important to, you're referring to the AGVs. Now, the AGV is in particular a technology which is used inside our distribution center, inside our
Warehouses, yeah.
inside the warehouse. And this is an automation that will help to accelerate the operations, increase productivity, and of course the AGV are electric. So this is important. My answer to your question is that the greenhouse gas emission associated with our warehousing operation is relatively small. It's relatively small. So the key focus in our logistic work is more on transportation. And this is where we are spending 95% of our resources today.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Petra, let's go one more question for Petra, then I will ask you one. After Petra, I will ask you one. How is P&G calculating transportation emission? Did you develop a tool or did you use something that is available on the market?
Petra, excellent question. Excellent question. You can improve only what you can measure, and you can really improve if you can measure accurately. So that's the reason why we have spent actually quite some time in 2019 to introduce a certified, or as certified as possible, way to measure CO2 or greenhouse gas emission. We use the GLEC methodology, GLEC, that maybe you or some of the audience are familiar. The GLEC technology is a technology which is the methodology is the best in the market in this moment at global level, and they are going through a certification, ISO certification literally in this month, in the month of January, February, March. So we are very satisfied about the accuracy of this methodology, which is the number one recognized. And this is what we use for our technology. So it's not something that we have developed in-house, but it's been developed by an external organization. And this is used now by the major corporation, almost everybody that wants to achieve a level of accuracy which makes sense. It's got black, and most likely we are pushing to create at the European level, through the European Union, only one certified European method, rather than having every company using its own methodology. And we hope that the European Union can adopt black.
Fantastic. Thank you, Pietro. Let me ask you one question, and then we'll come back to the question from the audience. So you keep writing your question. We will come back to your question in a moment. But as a negotiation and influencing professor, I was interested about what you're doing with other parties, because you mentioned, okay, we are trying to have one method of measuring things. We are working with truck driver, we are working with this, we're working with that. So you may be working with competitors as well. So I was just wondering, to what extent does P&G engage in changing industry practices?
Yeah, Giuseppe, this gives me the opportunity to stress one point, which for me is absolutely crucial to win the sustainability challenge, which is collaboration among the different actors in the industry. And I want to repeat, producer like Procter & Gamble, transportation companies, academia, startups, the local government, the European Union, associations. Is important that we all partner together. We share know-how. We share data. I would say that if this will not happen in an exponential way versus where we are today, I believe that winning the sustainability challenge will be literally impossible in the time horizon that we are identifying between 2030 and 2040. I give you an example, and Giuseppe, maybe you are familiar with this. A few years ago, we put together a partnership with a company that you are familiar with, which is the Tupperware company. And we decide to move product from Greece, P&G product, from Greece to UK, together with Tupperware. So, because one of the problems that we have is that we are not able to fill the truck at 100% every time for different reasons. But if we can partner in that case with Tupperware, we could fill the empty space of the trucks going from Athens to London with this Tupperware product, which are light, so very convenient in this case. And we were able to send truck to UK at 100% fill rate, 100% fill rate. So this is a simple example of partnership, external partnership between industry. But somebody can say, and I know that in the audience, but come on, but this is something very easy. It is not easy at all. There are traditional resistance to open the book between companies, but also from the logistics point of view, if you want to do this systematically and efficiently, it's very time-consuming and resource-consuming, the organization of this route. But today, and this is another important point, with the development of digital solutions, we are able to digitize many of those processes. And things that 5 or 10 years ago were difficult to do, cumbersome, expensive, today are much easier and convenient. This is an example of partnership between the industry, which has been, if you like, enabled enabled, we can say, by digital solution. Another one is between Procter & Gamble and customers. Carrefour, everybody knows Carrefour, in Spain. Last year, we have launched in Spain what we call the mega truck. The mega truck is a gigantic truck which is able to have inside 54 pallets versus the 33 pallets, which is the normal standard. So much bigger. In itself, this is an improvement because you can put more product into the truck and reduce the CO2 emission. But the real breakthrough is the collaboration with Carrefour. To reduce empty miles, the famous empty miles, we said, let's open our book. We have our distribution center in the region of Barcelona, and we need to ship our product to Carrefour in Madrid. But Carrefour has to ship this product, P&G product, plus product of other companies, from their distribution center in Madrid to all the shops on the way back to Barcelona. So we say, let's consider this one supply chain. So this mega trucks full of product goes from Barcelona to Madrid, download product, but upload other Carrefour product, and on the way back, download products to all the Carrefour shops on the way to Barcelona. I don't know if it's clear. This is a round trip. We call this round trip, optimized round trip. And this is the result, again, of partnership with another company, in this case, Carrefour, and digital solutions that helps this process, enable this process. Otherwise, it will be very, very complicated. And I can go on and on, Giuseppe. But the point
Fantastic.
of collaboration is crucial. I cannot emphasize it more.
Yeah. So P&G doesn't want to be the Lone Ranger, the star, the one that gets best goals. But if you really want to succeed, then it has to be a movement that takes the whole players in the industry. Yeah, absolutely. Great. We have a lot of questions again, so why don't we move for a moment to the question? We start with Nick, a chief procurement officer that wants to find out a bit more about whether P&G is planning to reduce the amount of kilograms and volume of the products which it transports.
Nick, this is another great question because as you are anticipating, there are different ways to reduce the CO2 emission. One is through compaction. If you can ship product which is more compact, you are shipping less air, less cubic meter, if you like, and you reduce the CO2 emission indirectly. The answer to your question is yes. Procter & Gamble, and Giuseppe knows very well, has been working on compaction for many years, for example, in the detergents industry, and we keep on working on it. I have to say that as a result of this work on sustainability that we are doing, all the compaction strategy of the company is taking, if you like, new life, and we are reviewing projects that in the past weren't considered convenient, because now in this new context they make much more sense. So we are working through compaction in many categories of products. You know, Procter & Gamble operates in many categories, from detergents to diaper, feminine care, beauty care, baby care, hair care. I would say that all the products that I just mentioned have got opportunity to work in this area, and we are working on it. We have been working with good results, and we'll still working on it.
Yeah, perfect. But I can confirm, by the way, that already 30 years ago, we were working on compacting our product. And indeed, if you look at your detergents, if you think about, the kind of detergents, if you're old enough to remember the kind of detergents that were used 30 years ago and the ones that are used now, then, for your washing machine, you will see the difference, in terms of the product size. Yeah. Thank you, Pasquale. Let's take a basic question from Pasquale. Can you talk about how you get to a new level of operation in logistics without sacrificing cost?
Yeah, this is the question I get every time. And by the way, Pasquale, I hope you are doing well. We should meet once in a while. Pasquale and we were working Procter & Gamble up to a few years ago. Nice to meet you again. So let me answer this question. One of the things that is the beauty of the work on sustainability in transportation is that in the vast majority of the case, sustainability and cost are not in contradiction. Work together. I give you another example, or the example I said before. When I say, if we can increase what we call vehicle fill rate, i.e. the product that we can put in a truck, we can reduce the total number of trucks that we move, which is good from the sustainability point of view and from the cost point of view. If I can work to eliminate empty miles, for example, with what I just mentioned before, the work we are doing with the startup company called Fourfold, I can reduce the number of trucks, which means that I can get both sustainability and cost. However, there are other solutions which are expensive. For example, one thing that we have declared, I think was in October, November last year, we have declared officially that we are going to support Maersk. You know, Maersk is one of the major ocean transportation companies on the planet. They have declared, Maersk has said, we are going to buy 8 new container ship that will be able to use biofuel. But of course, this will require an investment, and the cost of biofuel is more expensive than the normal fuel today. So they went public and said, we would like the support of some of our key customers, otherwise we will not do this investment. Procter & Gamble and other company went live and we said, yes, we will support you. Supporting you means that we will accept extra cost on some lanes every time they use this container ship. Is the right thing to do, because it's the right thing to do from the sustainability point of view. Is the right thing to do because it's the right way to support innovation in sustainability. And medium long term is also the right thing to do, we believe, need to be proved, but we believe from the cost point of view. Because when we achieve a certain threshold, the cost of biofuel can go dramatically down and can go even lower than the current diesel that is used in the ocean transportation. So this is an example, and we need to work both sides, the logistic, from the logistic point of view, I mean the transport, the cost, and the sustainability point of view in a wise way. Well, we need to invest. If we do not invest upfront, we are not going to foster, develop the solutions that will serve in the future to achieve the net zero goal of 2040.
Fantastic, Pietro. By the way, we are getting an unprecedented number of questions. So this is an indication about how this topic is relevant and important for many. Let me take Francesca and other bright procurement professionals that Francesca brings again, the topic of collaboration. I mean, how does the collaboration sustainability topic with your logistics partners work? Do you use any specific incentive?
Yeah, Francesca, I gave you a couple of examples of collaboration on sustainability. I can give you others. We are working also with other major customers in the e-commerce business or not. Some of this work is still at the beginning, so it's confidential. But we are working. But what is the incentive? The incentive is sustainability. No, look, so I tell you something. What I've experienced in the last 5 years, a revolution in the way the industry look at sustainability. A lot of companies, P&G and many other companies, are embracing sustainability, have made a strategic choice to lead on sustainability. They want to develop sustainability because this is an imperative, a business imperative, and is also a moral imperative. So sustainability itself is the incentive. We are working with Carrefour. They want to reduce their CO2 emission. We are working with other companies. I cannot divulge at this point more names because the work is at the beginning. For example, and I think that has been published a few months ago, we are working in Germany with a consortium of a company like Procter & Gamble, customers, transportation company, to develop this idea of smart box. What is smart box? Smart box is a rigid plastic container, but let me clarify. It's a plastic container which is fully recyclable and reusable that replaces the traditional carton outer box that we use to put our product. What is the advantage? This rigid plastic box are more rigid, so we can eliminate up to 90% of the pallet, and we can stack higher, which means again that we can better optimize the vehicle fill rate. We can put more product in a truck, reducing CO2. This plastic are recyclable, as I said, and reusable, which means that they will circle back and forth from Procter & Gamble to the customer, from customer to Procter & Gamble, and there is a third-party company that manages the logistics of this. So this is an idea that has been launched in Germany last July. We are still in a pilot phase, but we are growing very fast. And we have got calls from other companies in Belgium and France. They want to do the same thing. This is a way of collaborating. What is the incentive? The incentive is that we have a better, more efficient way to transport the product, reducing the CO2 emission. And this is something that has put together companies like Procter & Gamble, but also a lot of small companies. This is important to know. A lot of the small companies do not have the resource, of course, that big companies has. But solutions like that are solutions that they can tap into and connect and get the benefit.
Fantastic, Piero. Listen, let's take one more question from Andrea. Andrea, we're talking about scope 3 emission. How when to set up a contractual relationship with supplier? How much time do you think is needed for the transportation market to update itself to the new sustainable customer requirements?
This is a fantastic question, but this is a cluster of questions. Let me unpack a little bit. Yes, when we talk about transportation, we are talking about scope 3. Scope 1 and 2 is more upstream, more manufacturing, what comes first. And transportation is part of what is called scope 3, which is what goes downstream to the manufacturing process. But this is a little bit a technical aspect. The electric aspect. The question regarding the contractual relationship with suppliers. So if you talk about the raw and packing material suppliers, I mean the upstream, this is something that I didn't mention today, but we are working with our supplier, upstream supplier of raw and packing material, in the same way as we are working with our customer of finished product. It's exactly the same thing. The work is a little bit less advanced for various reasons, but strategically we are doing exactly the same thing: reducing empty miles, using intermodality, converting to alternative fuels, electric truck, collaboration, etc., etc., etc. The time. This is your third question is about the timing. As I said, this is a process that takes time because we need to change habit, we need to introduce innovation, we need to change process, we need to create a new culture. The 20 years I gave as a horizon is what we believe is realistic. We want to accelerate. That's the reason why, as I said, we have 1 through 5 and 10 years midterm target. But this is something, of course, that is not the result of one company like Procter & Gamble intervention. There are many players, including the role that the European Union will have. You are familiar with the new Green Deal. At the beginning of last year, or I think in 2020, the European Union has talked about the European Green Deal. This will introduce new legislation, new rules, new regulation, including new tax. The sooner we have clarity on the landscape from the legal point of view, the better the company like us can adapt their strategy. This is something that will help. I don't know if I answer your question, but definitely it's a difficult task that, again, we can win if we work all together, the industry and the government. It's a vital connection, more vital than in many other areas.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. We take the last question from the audience, the one from Christian, and then we go towards the closure because we could stay with Pietro for the whole day, but I know that some of you may have to move to the next meeting, at 2:00 Central European time. So let's take the question from Christian. Intermodality is a greener choice mode versus road, and most of the time is a cheaper choice, but in all cases. Also, intermodality usually means longer transit time, which impacts service level to customer. This is to say that sustainability does represent a cost in some case. I mean, what's P&G position when you have to balance service to customer, cost to move finished goods, and sustainability?
Christian, fantastic question. Fantastic question. You are right. Usually intermodality means longer transit time, which has, of course, an impact on the service level. Let me give you a couple of perspectives here. First of all, we are working with the railway industry to improve their reliability. And I have to tell you that there is, from their point of view, a lot of attention towards the customer service they provide. So I'm positive that from the reliability point of view, intermodality can dramatically improve versus today. However, still there is a difference in terms of lead time and customer service. But what we did together with our innovation team, we have analyzed the lead time required by every single customer and every single lane. And what we have discovered that the traditional assumption that faster is better, it is not always right. In some cases, for some lane, for example, long distance lane, it is not always true that faster is better. The customers, in some cases, are okay with a little bit longer lead time. Now, that's the reason why we have developed this concept, which is called synchro-modality. I will not go in detail. I'm more than happy to expand if somebody has got interest. Synchro-modality means simply this, that we can assess in case by case what is the right lead time and the right mode of transportation. In some case can be intermodality, in some case can be truck, but is not truck all the time. Only doing this, we discovered that a good 15% of our transportations were going too fast, to use an expression that is a little bit funny, but you understand what I mean. Second observation, third observation, even if we do this, still there are cases where you have to choose. You can go by train, you can go by truck, and still by truck is costing less, but is getting a longer lead time. This is where we have to work case by case with our customers. And as I said to you before, the acceptance from our customers of the importance of sustainability is much, much higher today than 1, 2, 3 years before. So the answer is that in this case, it's case by case. We discuss and we agree with our customers that we can deliver an acceptable level of service and at the same time a service which is sustainable.
Fantastic. Now, my apologies for the additional question we're getting. I mean, we say that Christian question was the last one because I really want to get to the close. And, we heard about all those positive things that P&G is doing. Now, you want to decarbonize the supply chain, but, what are the main challenges for the company to achieve this goal,
Yeah, Giuseppe, a couple of things which I think will resonate with everybody. One of the key challenge is to introduce electric truck. Everybody understand if we can move to electric, we can reduce the CO2 dramatically, even though we need to look at how the electricity is produced. But let's put this aside because maybe this is another webcast. Moving to electric truck is the right thing to do. But there are two issues. The technology is not mature enough. So working on together with the industry to develop, to accelerate the development of this type of solution is crucial. But there is another one. Even though today we had the electric truck available, reliable, still will be difficult to use it because in Europe and everywhere else lack the network or recharge station for trucks. And this is something, of course, that Procter & Gamble in itself cannot solve. This is a bigger issue that the industry and the politics has to solve. This is something that we can contribute. We are in connection with many other institutions, but this is one of the issues if we want to electrify our fleet. Another thing is on the intermodality. We want to go to train. Okay, go to train. The train are there. Well, there are two basic issues. One is that the capacity of the railway network in Europe is not sufficient to absorb a massive shift from road to train. It's an infrastructure point of view. Now, the European Union with the new Green Deal has talked about it massively investing in transportation. I hope that they will cover the infrastructure of the railway network too. The second point is about the way the current railway network is managed. There are differences in legislation by country, inside the European Union too, and there are many actors that play in this field. For example, there are companies that own the railway. There are companies that own the trains. There are companies that own the booking. This is also all good, but doesn't unleash the optimal level of capacity that the current structure could deliver. So again, this is not something that Procter & Gamble can solve, but we are working with at the European level, European Union level, to identify solutions that can integrate all the key players in a much more efficient way. I give you an example, Giuseppe, that you understand well, because you have been working in this business for many years. If you want to go to train, oftentimes what the railway company offer us is a train, which means 15, 20 wagons. And we need to rent the entire trains. Now, even company like Procter & Gamble do not have this critical mass. We need 1 wagon, 2 wagons, 3 wagons. But they want to sell us the cow, and we need a steak. So this is a funny way to represent one of the challenge that we have. So the infrastructure in transportation, the way the railway network is organized, the recharge system for electric truck, which is not there, are 3 of the challenge that we have in front of us. But I remain very optimistic. I want to say very optimistic, because I believe there is an awareness at all levels, in the industry, in the public opinion, at political level, that sustainability in transportation is a key priority for the future of our continent.
Amazing, Pietro. That was really, really rich. By the way, if you enjoyed this LinkedIn Live, maybe you want to enjoy the next one, which will be on 25th of January at 1 o'clock. And the title is Getting the Top Jobs. So the next LinkedIn Live is about careers. We are going to have a director at Bocconi, the leading business school in Italy and based in Milan. And we're going to talk about, career management and how can you get a C-level job, 25th of January always at 1 o'clock. If you're interested instead on negotiation and influencing, our next webinar is on the 4th of January at 2 o'clock, virtual negotiation toolbox. In an environment that has been operating virtually for quite a while, are we really optimizing our ability to negotiate virtually? And that will be the topic, 4th of February at 2 o'clock. Now, to summarize, Pietro, it was an amazing event, and the number of questions that we got and we could not even address is a clear indication about the interest that you raised with this LinkedIn Live. So thank you very much. My key takeaway is it is a collaborative change, right? Say each one of us, we as consumer, we as activists, we as startups, we as transportation company, fast moving consumer goods, government, etc., we can all contribute to make this happen. Is an effort that we have to do all together. And by joining this webinar, you communicated that you are concerned by your sustainability. Think about what is one small thing that you can do to contribute to these things to happen. Thank you again, Pietro, for this amazing LinkedIn Live. And all the very best to all of you. And look forward to reconnecting with you soon. Bye-bye. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Bye-bye.